Touch it, Andy said. But before Evan had a chance, she reached a finger in and poked it. It's cold, she said. Touch it. It's really cold. Evan poked it with his finger. It was cold. Thicker than Jell-O. Heavier. He pushed his finger beneath the surface. When he pulled his finger out, it made a loud sucking noise. Gross, Andy said. Evan shrugged. I've seen worse.
You can't scare me. Not with the basement of botany. Maybe a sentient dummy. Calling all creeps. Boo dudes.
And other lady dudes.
Welcome to Calling All Creeps.
It's us.
Matt and Dave. I'm
Yes.
Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we are your masters of ceremonies. Thanks for taking the RL time to be with us.
See, we got real good ones.
Yeah.
I thought of one this time because you had the Master of Ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be like, I'm the judge presiding over this court, Sludge Judy. Which is
good.
gross. It just sounds like a gross vagina.
Well, it's good for our episode today, which is Monster Blood.
Which is mostly written like RL Stine talking about a gross vagina.
It is. Yeah.
Did you guys see it said explicit on iTunes next to this?
I hope you did, because you're really in for it today.
Yes, you are.
So don't listen to this in the car with your kids.
Yeah.
Or
If you
do.
have-
I'm not going to tell you how to
It's
parent.
fine. I mean, your kid might have a vagina and be,
They might.
above the age of 18.
Yeah.
Who knows?
In which case, that's fine. It's fine no matter what you do. We support you regardless.
Regardless, it's getting weird. Whatever we're saying right now, it's very strange. We're talking about kids. We're talking about vaginas.
Yeah.
We need to stop.
Anyway, that's it. Bye. Boo dudes, bye.
Dudes, fuck off. All right.
Oh, my iPad is ringing.
Your dad called and was just like, "Are you talking about vaginas on the internet again?" So where do we begin?
We begin with the lovely Monster Blood. So this is number 3 in the series. And this was printed September 1992.
All right.
So we're officially in fall here. And this was one of the original... How many did he do initially?
He was initially on to do 4.
Yeah.
That was the original contract, and then from there they grew it to like 6, and then it became the 62 series. Fun fact about this too: originally, he was doing Fear Street,
Yeah.
which was a
teen
teenage
series.
thing, and he did not want to do Goosebumps because he was afraid that it would alienate his teenage hardcore crowd, that
Right.
like spooky teenage stuff.
Right. This is not spooky enough. This is for kids.
But they went with this, and originally it was supposed to be books for females, for young girls.
Oh, that's right. I read that.
Yeah, which becomes apparent if you listen to our past 2 episodes, where a lot of the main characters were girls with annoying younger brothers.
Yeah.
This is the first book where we get a male's perspective,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Thank God for that, right? There's not enough of that in the world, I feel like.
Yeah,
we need a
thank
fresh male perspective.
Of course. Thank God. Anyway, September 1992. So let's go back. Let's put you into that year in the 90s.
Context.
So-
Context. 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 Context.
I think we could make like little jingles, but we've been singing them, so it's
Yeah,
perfect.
I'll just sing Elton John Saturday every single time we
Yeah,
want to
let's
establish
do
context.
Crocodile Rock.
Yeah.
So the song, which I think we gave away last episode, still the entire month of September, End of the Road, Boys to Men.
As it should be.
Banger.
How are you
Movie,
gonna top that?
Last of the Mohicans,
Okay.
and Sneakers.
What's Sneakers?
It was actually a Robert Redford for joint.
Oh, it wasn't just like somebody squeezing out a little fart.
Yeah.
Sneakers.
I thought you were going to talk about like sport shoes.
Oh, yeah, sport shoes.
Anyway, so if you've seen any of the videos we made leading up to this, you may know that we kind of delved into the original content of Monster Blood. Monster Blood was created because RL Stine was noticing that his son was buying a bunch of toy slime.
That's weird.
So this was actually Toy Slime's peak in the early 90s.
What's Toy
late
Slime?
90s.
Like GAC?
So GAC actually was created in 1992.
Oh.
So GAC was fresh. I did some research. GAC 1992, Floam 1994.
Oh, Floam. Yeah. That was more like, it was like GAC from space.
It pretty much was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had like it had little like pimples in it.
Yeah,
it was
lighter.
very goosebumpy, and it had the foam to it. The foam.
Yeah,
I guess that
right.
makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this whole book was inspired by his son playing with GAC.
Oh, wow.
Fun fact:
Poetic.
Let's go a next level. Nickelodeon GAC got its name because a lot of teenagers working in college, they got credits to work in Universal Studios. They started calling the slime GAC. They thought it was like a cool name, and they kept doing it on Double Dare. But GAC was actually a street term for heroin.
I was gonna say it sounds like a name for a drug. Yeah.
So that's why they named it. GAC was a street term for heroin, and they thought it was funny that they would mix up this slime, and kids would have it. And it actually, the name stuck and went through for mass marketing through Nickelodeon.
Wow.
So when they were slinging GAC at Toys R Us, it's
Right.
like heroin.
They,
So
on the shelf, they have GAC, then they have a little Bolivian shale, and then they have a little China Brown.
Of
and
course.
it's all just like silly putties.
of course. This is one of the last third-person books in the entire series, which we're on book 3 out of 62, which is pretty impressive. But
Yeah.
he really goes into the characters' heads after this.
Yeah.
Again, originally they're talking from the female perspective. He really wanted it to feel like you were the older sister. So this one, because it's a boy, they kind of step out.
Yeah. Although I will say, even though it's third person, he's good at suffusing the narrative with that person's thoughts anyway. in a way.
Exactly.
So, like, there are, when Evan gets dropped, we're jumping the gun here, but when Evan gets dropped off by his mom, the text, RL says, how could his mother do this to Evan, et cetera, et cetera.
It's very biased
Toward the
towards
protagonist.
yeah. And then to put us in that time, so on September 22nd in Nicaragua, there was an earthquake and flooding, and 118 people died. And the world forgot how to laugh. Until September 9th, when Howard Stern appeared as Fart Man on MTV.
Right. Who could forget Fart Man? And how that helped the people of
Nicaragua. Yeah. So, and I think
Rest in peace.
the deaths of the Nicaraguans really weighed heavy on RL Stine's mole. But thank God for Fart Man.
Yeah.
We had an exposed ass on his outfit, so that really
man.
helped. So
could
that's
forget
where we
those
were
VMAs?
in September of 1992.
Great. So that puts us time and place, ready to read Monster Blood. So should we just dive right into it?
Let's dive right into that blood.
Let's talk about the writing. So,
Well, we want to do the plot, figure out where we are.
yep.
We need to let you guys know what this book's about.
Yeah. Though this is the plot.
Okay, hold on. I gotta describe it in
Okay.
one noise. Hold on. See if it picks up. All right. Now let's go into the writing.
Okay, perfect. So the plot is, and you heard a little bit of it there, but this book deals with monster blood, and how we get there is we have a little boy, Evan. He's 12, right?
Yes.
Um,
You're between the age of 10 and 13.
for sure, 100%.
13 may even be too far for these books, I feel like.
Yeah, although it was Amanda 13 in Dead
Maybe,
House, I
yeah.
think.
You're
but
like
that's the cat.
You're the tweens. It's
Yeah.
the tween time.
So 12-year-old Evan is dropped off at his aunt's house by his mother.
Great aunt.
Great aunt. Yes. Right.
I wanted to bring up because that's a trope too.
Yeah.
I think we talked about in the first episode how do you know your great uncle or great aunt?
Yeah, no. And this keeps cropping up.
Yeah. So I think that's a fun R.L. Stine trope where
Extended relatives.
no, that's so extended to the point where it's close family because that's your great aunt, great uncle
Yeah.
above, but it's still so disconnected that they could be, I don't know, a ghost.
Yeah. It depends on your family dynamic, but probably you might not be that close to your great aunt or uncle.
I'm a quarter ghost on my dad's side.
Oh, that's why I can just see through your balls.
That's because I'm a quarter jellyfish on my mom's side.
Oh, tingly.
All right.
So Evan's mom drops him off at his great aunt's house because his mom and his dad have to go on a bowling tournament in the South. No, I don't.
No, so somebody got a new job and they're looking for a house.
Yeah, they're looking for a home.
Wasn't it somewhere random like Cleveland or something?
I think it was like Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta. That's
Yeah.
it. In Atlanta.
Yeah. So Evan gets dropped off at his aunt's house. They establish early on his aunt is crazy. They keep saying that she's kooky. She's deaf, which those two things never quite jive for me. I'm always a little uncomfortable because they're like, fuck this woman.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Can you believe this weirdo in a wheelchair?
Yeah. Right. There's a bit of that you have to work through.
You learn that her being deaf has nothing to do with her quirkiness, though.
Yeah.
So
this woman, Catherine, Aunt Katherine, takes in Evan. While Evan's parents are away, Catherine and Evan kind of butt heads a little bit. Mostly it's Evan. He's a little indignant. He's kind of I don't know, not a great kid all the time when it comes to respecting your relatives. Or like his aunt really has done nothing to him.
They also don't really know her well.
No, and it's fine to be. He's just very antagonistic.
The father used to stay with his aunt.
Yeah.
And she said that he was skin and bones and only called him chicken.
Chicken, yeah.
Something about Great Aunt Catherine. She's probably my favorite character in this entire book.
Yeah.
Because she is so creepy.
She is.
She's like any hulking character from Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Mixed with like Sling Blade style serial killer. Because like when she first meets him, she like checks his teeth. And she's like, "You like the girls, Evan?"
Ooh, yeah. So page 8. First, Aunt Katherine is described as robust. Did you see this?
Yes, I did.
So she was a large woman, very robust, broad-shouldered, and tall. So you're right, she's hulking. She is. She's this massive figure to Evan, who is small. And then this is the funniest part of the book, I think. Well, that's not true, because there are funny lines that we'll talk about. But page 8 to 9, "I was slicing beef," she said in a surprisingly deep voice, waving the blood-stained kitchen knife. She stared at Evan. "You like beef?" There's a lot of beef talk in this book in general.
So I wrote, Catherine description is on point, asks him if he likes beef twice.
Yes.
There's 2 separate parts where they have this description, and then she's like swinging the knife around. She's like, "You like beef?"
Yeah. In a deep voice.
Yes. Then she actually self-identifies as a witch.
Oh, that's right. She does say, like, "I'm a crazy old witch." She is like self-effacing a lot of the time.
Yeah. And I like this too, where just a lot of the description. So also we should put out that Aunt Katherine is deaf.
Yeah.
But also does not speak sign language.
No.
Or read lips.
No.
She refuses to. And that's something that the family knows up front.
And she speaks well, right? Because when they really drive home that her voice was deep, as they do on page 9, it says, "Her voice was deep as a man's, and she spoke clearly, without the indistinct pronunciation that some deaf people have." Which is a fact, but also sounds judgmental. This whole thing is, at times, it seems problematic.
Another back to a trope. They bring back, Catherine was a large woman, very robust, like we said.
Yeah.
But they say she wore a peach-colored house dress, which I just think of gross.
Yeah. Also surprised she's not in like all black.
Straight black hair.
Yeah.
Pulled back and tied behind her head in a long ponytail, flowed down the back of her dress. She wore no makeup, and her pale face seemed to disappear under her striking black hair, except for her eyes, which were large, round, and steely blue.
Yeah.
Which the blue eyes, the bright blue eyes we see from Welcome to Dead House.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of, kind of a trope through him. Also, she, like I said, she basically inspects him like a horse.
Yeah.
She checks his teeth, says, "He's big," Catherine says to Mrs. Ross. "A big boy, not like his father. I used to call his father Chicken." And then it's like uncomfortably. Evan looks at her suitcase uncomfortably back at him and says, "Yeah, he's big."
Yeah. She's also obsessed with whether or not he has a girlfriend.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, relatives do that and they razz you and they give you a hard time. But she holds on to it for a while.
Way too much.
And again, asks him, so after she talks about beef, across a couple pages, you get to yet the next page, and it says, "We've moved on to a couple things," and then it comes back and it says, "So, you like beef?" She repeated.
On the same page, she's looking at the mother. I think another thing, too, that's really creepy and works for the third person is that through this whole introduction, Catherine's only talking to the mother, but manhandling Evan. Like, I can tell he's a good-looking boy, Catherine said. She reached out and grabbed Evan's face, her big hand holding him under the chin, her eyes examining him close. Good-looking boy, she said, giving his chin a hard squeeze. He likes the girls.
He likes the girls.
Says again on the next page, he likes the girls, Catherine repeated, leering at him with her cold blue eyes.
It's that line, yeah, she keeps repeating. It's down, the part you just read, and then up again before that part even, she says, he likes the girls, huh, Catherine repeated.
And then at the end of the page, it's page 11, she says she winked at Mrs. Ross. Did he tell you I was a big scary old witch?
Yeah, that's right.
Talking about the father, so...
Yeah. No, Evan protested, looking at his mother. Well, I am, Catherine declared. And there's, you've watched the Garfield cartoon, right?
Oh, yeah.
The grandma in Garfield, her voice, I picture
Me too.
in Catherine's voice. Like, it's the perfect kind of, this is a deep cut.
Murph agrees.
Featuring my cat.
Then it gets very Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So there's a dog in this book.
Yeah.
There usually is. We didn't have a dog last time. But
yeah, there's a lot of pets in
there's
these
a
books.
lot of pets in this. It's very much mom, dad, daughter, son, dog.
Yeah.
This one, just mother, father, Trigger, our cool dog.
Yep.
This is the best dog so far out of all the series.
Yeah.
Best dog.
Yeah.
Take that, Petey. Piece of shit.
Yeah, Petey sucked comparatively.
Yeah.
Trigger has much more personality. He seems so likable. He seems loyal to Evan.
But Catherine automatically does not like Trigger and asks to chain him up around back. She already has a spike and everything set to go in the backyard.
Yeah.
So Trigger, who's an inside dog,
has to go outside.
Has to go outside, and she threatens to bake him into a pie.
Yeah. Yeah. Trigger gets the raw end of the deal and a lot throughout this book. So I have one example on page 25 when Evan meets this girl named Andy. This is one of his first encounters in this town where his great aunt lives. And when he does, he's with Trigger at the time, walking Trigger. And Andy says, "I like your dog," she said, eyeing Trigger. "He looks real stupid. I like stupid dogs." And when Evan says his name's Trigger, she says, "Yeah, that's pretty stupid, especially for a Cocker Spaniel." Just strange, especially for a Cocker Spaniel.
So it brings us to Andy, who is pretty much number 2 in this book when it comes to characters. It's the tough girl who knows the town, knows the streets, riding around on her bike. RL Stine loves describing how people dress and makes sure that every time that you meet this person, he undugs it. It's not like in Doug where like they wear the same thing. She has a different outfit that is described every single time.
I made a note of this. Every time we meet Andy again, we go through her outfit.
She's quirky. It's 90s. She was Frizzlin'. She was Miss Frizzlin'.
Well, yeah, it's to establish, I think, part of her personality, which is sort of colorful and fun and
she dunks
eclectic.
On people.
She does dunk on people. Well, she called the dog stupid off the bat for no
reason. So
reason.
let's talk about stupid. She calls 7 things stupid in that one chapter, and I wrote them all down. So
perfect.
This is my list called things Andy calls stupid. Number 1, the dog. Number 2, Evan's name. Number 3, the dog's name. Number 4, her own name. Wow, turned it back on herself. Number 5, Evan proper. As in, his name's dumb, so is he.
Yeah.
Matching. 6, a cowboy.
In what context?
There was a cowboy on a sign. She said cowboys are stupid.
Oh, okay.
Then 7, her cousin's taste in names. Also, my favorite, every now and then you get really good 90s insults out of R.L. Stine. And probably the best one is when they turn it back on great Aunt Katherine and she gets dunked on by Andy. Here we go. So that's chapter 5, page 25. So Evan talks about how he's staying with his great Aunt Katherine. Says, I'm staying with my aunt. Actually, she's my great aunt. So what's so great about her? The girl cracked. Nothing. Evan replied and laughing. For sure.
It says Evan replied without laughing. There's a darkness to that.
It really is. It's so good. And then she goes on her stupid spree, calling everything dumb.
Starting with his dog, who did nothing.
Yeah, it's fine.
So Evan and Andy have met. They are getting on well. They give each other a hard time in sort of a flirtatious way.
Yeah.
Andy has to go to the toy store to get her family member a gift. When they go into this toy store, it's sort of an eclectic toy store. There's a man at the counter who seems like a interesting guy, and all the stuff in the store is like antiquated or strange.
There's a great description of him where it says that
There
his
is.
mustache is always frowning.
Yeah. The description of him in particular, when I'm thinking about, I mean, everybody in the book, every character always gets described to a T, including their outfit. And this one for the cashier was actually good. But they go into the store. Eventually, Evan finds this little sort of back room where they have, storage stuff, but then also
Trash,
some...
I think is the word.
Yeah. There's
Just a bunch of trash.
And he finds a little can of monster blood, it says.
Little blue can.
Yeah. It says monster blood. Below that, in smaller type, it read surprising miracle substance. So he has this money that his mom had given him when she dropped him off. So he wants to use that to purchase the monster blood. The guy, the cashier who works there, I don't know, presumably the store owner, is doesn't want to give it up.
Yeah.
And that's also a Stine trope, I feel like, is it's full of, these stories are full of shopkeepers who are trying to warn stubborn kids, and they fail.
Also, they're really bad at business.
Yeah.
They all suck at business.
Yeah.
So frowning mustache says, no, you don't want that. What are you doing in here? But then in the end, it's just like, fuck it. Here you go.
It doesn't take much coaxing.
It's like, you'll be sorry.
Yeah, they all say you'll be sorry, and then
In
all their shops close, always.
So another thing about this shop that I think is interesting, when they go into town, Andy really gives Evan the full tour, and they see the VHS store, the video store, which is one of my cool 90s. But also good to know that there's like a modern good toy store.
In the town?
In the town. Evan was like, oh, there's a toy store, but and Andy likes to go to this store because it's different and weird.
Yeah.
And you find stuff you don't find normally.
Right.
Another trope where it's like, oh yeah, you can go to Kmart, or you can go to like
spooky
Z-Mart.
toy shop.
Yeah. Which there's only one of, and it's run by a Dracula.
Yeah.
So they bring home the monster blood.
Yeah.
Andy wanted it. Evan's like, fuck off, because he's a dick. He bought it for himself. They're not going to share it. It's all his. They ride back home. And they pop that sucker open.
Yeah. So they're playing around with it. At first, it's really cold. It mostly keeps its shape. Then over time, the monster blood kind of becomes sentient in a way, or it gets like strange. It gets warm. It starts oozing and overflowing. It behaves differently.
At the beginning, it's always cold. I wrote that it would be awesome for beverages if they could harness its power.
Yeah, nice mixer.
A little beer mug, we fill that with it. It'd
Yeah.
be great. It bounces like crazy.
Yeah, in the beginning, it bounces just like a straight up bouncy ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem initially arises when some gets out the window or some shit.
They go outside to see how high they can bounce.
Oh, that's right. Sure. And Trigger, the dog, eats some of the monster blood. And over time, they notice that Trigger starts looking different. He starts to grow.
Which they say is already at the end of his life. He's like
he's an older dog.
He's like a 12-year-old dog.
Yeah.
So just that he's getting his growth spurt is really uncomfortable.
Doesn't make sense.
And weird. He brings him to a vet just as like a kid.
I made a note of that. Like, where did they get the $250 for the office visit? And yeah, they're behaving like adults. Like, we're married and we're bringing our dog in here to check him out. And the vet doesn't seem to have a problem with that and just says, like, he's fine.
And then not only that, but takes blood and...
Oh, and they get to test the hormones and
yeah.
stuff like that.
And I'm like, where's this kid get this money from?
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Lab fees?
Right.
Yeah, right, RL. Maybe Minnie doesn't get sick.
RL, why don't you get real?
I'm calling you out, RL. What kind of dog insurance you got?
So... Yeah, the dog eats it, gets big. The monster blood starts to grow itself in size, so they have to keep transferring it to different vessels to hold it.
They start in the little can, then they move it to a coffee can.
Yep. Then a bucket.
Then a bucket.
Then a bathtub.
Well, then also he splits a coffee can. He gives some to Andy to bring home.
Yeah.
But by the time he gets home, it's already full, and he puts it into a bathtub.
Yeah. Then a garbage bag.
Garbage bag.
And then a garbage can.
Garbage can.
Yeah.
Also, we have to say, too, that when they're playing with the monster blood originally, they go up into the room, and dogs are not allowed in the house. We realize that because Great Aunt Katherine has a cat named Sarah Beth.
Yep.
Sarah Beth fucking sucks.
Yeah, Sarah Beth does suck. Is always like hissing or like jumping on people.
The first time they meet Sarah Beth, she's in the closet of Andy's room, and she leaps out of the closet after they hear a noise, and it just says that the cat latches onto his face.
Right, and then he gets in trouble. The dog the dog starts barking. Isn't that the catalyst for the dog going outside? Yeah. So that sucks.
So Sarah Beth sucks. They fill the bathtub, which is in the basement. He waits for Aunt Katherine to go to sleep so he can go into the basement and find something to put it in. Finds an old clawfoot bathtub just hanging down there.
Yeah.
Fills it up. Then Sarah Beth, being a shitty cat, attacks Evan when he's sitting on the side of the bathtub, and he gets dunked on.
Pushes him into the tub physically.
And there's a really good description we'll talk about later of him fighting his way out of the bathtub as it pulls him in.
Yeah.
Like the chapter ends like in the movie when like it goes to black.
Yeah.
And then it like turns on. It's like, no, wake back up. You have to live.
Yeah. It is exactly that. And the description, like the writing in that part is
really good.
Yeah. And it's a little scary because it
Yeah.
gets like claustrophobic.
It really does. It's basically the life being forced out of it.
Yeah.
By fart putty.
We should also say there are a few more characters in here. They're the Bamer twins.
Who rule? Well,
Yeah.
they suck.
They suck.
They're serial killers.
Yeah, but they're, like a couple years older than Evan and Andy. And they kind of just kick the shit out of Evan all the time.
There's really good descriptions of him just getting, like, they punch him in the stomach, and he's just like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then he's describing him getting wailed on.
It's like, the description is like the earth seems to tilt on its axis. It's so dramatic, the description. But he gets his ass kicked by them all the time.
And let's go to descriptions of them, because they sound like the dopest, shittiest 90s metal kids.
Yeah.
So, startled, Evan started from one boy to the other. They were twins, identical twins. Both were big, beefy guys, more beef, with short white blonde hair and round red faces. They both wore dark t-shirts with names of heavy metal bands on the front. Baggy shorts, we're thinking Jinko.
I would say 100% Jinko, yeah.
At this point, it should say, like, on the back pocket, which went to the bottom of the pant, there happened to be a snake with an 8-ball in its mouth.
And there was a stripe down the side of the shorts.
The other brother couldn't afford those pants and had Lee pipes.
It had a hook for your hammer. And
high-top sneakers, untied, without socks. Oh, without socks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have so much, like, highlighter on this. Evan guessed they were about 14 or 15.
Those are big boys for Goosebumps.
Those are big boys.
Yeah.
And all they do is kick the shit out of them. At one point, they tie somebody's cat to a tree.
Yeah, they tie a cat to a tree.
They steal
Andy's bike. They punch Evan's ice cream cone out of his hand.
And then him in the stomach, and then the face.
Yeah.
And then they just kick him while he's down.
Yeah, and they try to take his dog, but they don't.
So more importantly, I want to know, what heavy metal bands do you think are on this 1994 kids shirts?
It's got to be Metallica, right?
I'm thinking Metallica and maybe Anthrax.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm feeling.
That's cool. Also, maybe RL thinks like Guns N' Roses is heavy metal.
He might still think. Also in this book, RL Stine being a dad shows when he's just like, oh, she doesn't even have a Nintendo. It's like when your mom's like, go play Nintendo. It's like, Mom, it's a Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't care, go play Nintendo.
Right, that's like what RL uses to say, like, Aunt Katherine's, there's nothing. He's bereft of entertainment because there's no Nintendo. Yeah. So all of this works toward the monster blood eventually gets out of control. It bursts through its final vessel, which is the garbage can. It suddenly like becomes anthropomorphic and sentient and has enough constitution to stand on its own, and starts attacking people and things and consuming them. It's like the Blob.
Also, at this point, Trigger has grown beyond his collar to the point where he almost choked to death, which is very, very intense scene.
He says a lot that he's like the size of a pony.
He's the size of a pony, which is pretty crazy. Not a full-blown horse, but just pony size.
A pony, which is, for a dog, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, especially a Cocker Spaniel, which, I mean, that size for a Cocker Spaniel, especially one named Trigger.
Yeah.
But also, Trigger runs away.
Yeah.
And Evan has a dream of Trigger just chasing down to devour the Beamer twins.
Yeah, right.
But then the dream comes true. So, climax, big blob. Before the big blob takes over, he walks over to Aunt Katherine and just explains the trouble he's in.
Yeah. So he writes on a piece of paper, he says, there's monster blood in the basement in the bathtub. It's growing beyond its size. You have to help me. And initially she laughs and says, like, you're being stupid. And then sort of leans in, gets real serious and says, I warned you. I told you to be careful.
Yeah.
So he decides she's of no use to me.
Yeah.
And they try to return the monster blood. We're kind of shifting now in
back and forth
in time, but they do try to return the monster blood, and it's the store, of course, that they tried to.
Always an RL trope.
Yeah,
store's closed. Someone's outside just being like, "Oh, that store?
Yeah,
it's been closed for days."
Yeah, right. So they have to put it in that garbage can, and then hell breaks loose and it comes alive. So it eats a robin. It swallows a bird. Then it devours the Bamer twins. And it says, the Bamer twins took a few steps toward Evan and Andy. Then their grins faded and their mouths dropped open in horror as the gigantic green mass appeared, etc., etc. They said, look out, run. The enormous ball of monster blood picked up speed as it bounced forward. Evan shut his eyes as it hit the twins with a deafening smack. Ow!
No!
Both brothers cried out, flailing their arms, struggling to pull themselves free. Help us, please help us. Their bodies twisted and writhed as they struggled, but they were stuck tight. The green gunk oozed over them, covering them completely. Then it pulled them inside with a loud sucking pop. Andy shielded her eyes. Sick, she muttered. Ooh, sick. And the last line, Evan gasped in helpless horror as the Bamer brothers finally stopped struggling. That line's something.
Intense.
That has an effect. The problem with this, if we can just give up the ghost, because we have to describe the plot anyway, is by the end, the Bamer twins are fine.
Yeah.
They're just spit out eventually of the monster blood, and they regain consciousness instantly, and everything's okay. And that's bothersome to me because when I first read this and I read that passage,
I was like, oh, they're dead.
I was like, holy shit. Yeah, because you watch them stop moving. And logically, what happens after the Bamer twins are swallowed would take at minimum 20 minutes or something like that. Yeah. So they're definitely dead if you think of it logically. We don't have to do that, of course, because one of our mission statements of this podcast is these are kids' books. That's fine. Yeah. But I liked that there were stakes. And when the bird is spit out and when the Bamer twins are spit out and everyone and everything is fine, there are decidedly no stakes in this book and maybe this series. And that's what does not resonate when you're an adult.
Which is interesting because Aunt Katherine loves beef.
Well, Catherine's got a lot of stakes, but that's a whole different story.
Okay, so if we keep moving, the monster blood shows up at the door. Aunt Katherine runs away. Mm-hmm. They get inside. And she points and she says, it was her. She's the one who did this because they blame Aunt Katherine for being a witch and cursing the monster blood. And you think she's pointing at Andy, which I thought was a huge twist.
Yeah.
She knows everything about the town. She knows what's going on. So that would be interesting if the witch showed up.
And the chapter ends there, so that's a little cliffhanger.
I thought that was cool. Good misdirection.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out she's pointing at the shitty cat.
Yeah. This kind of sucks.
Cat sits there, grows, comes a sexy witch lady.
And I'm like kind of hazy on how they came together or like what the relationship is and why.
You're supposed to think that, so Katherine was the witch's familiar and cursed her.
This is what I don't understand is like Sarah Beth wanted Catherine to do her evil bidding, to like make her her servant. That's really it.
Well, that's a lot. That's like a really big horror trope, to the point with like vampires. It's more regular where you have a familiar, somebody that you.
Yeah.
There are stakes where you're either promising them something like immortality, or you have some sort of blackmail, or even kind of like hypnotize them into doing your bidding. There's
Yeah.
something where they're your slave.
Yeah.
Because as a cat witch, I mean, you're not going to be able to get a driver's license. What do you think? What if they card you to get like, you know, your Pudweiser over? They're not going to let you do it, so you need to get some deaf idiot. Also,
Yeah.
you learned she wasn't originally deaf. That's a curse.
Right. Yeah. So they're trading curses and spells at each other.
Yeah, so she may be a witch, but she's a greater witch, Sarah Beth.
Yeah.
And this is something that I thought was funny, where it turns out that the monster blood wasn't special at all. The monster blood could have been gack.
Yeah.
It could have been anything, and they just turned it. She cursed it.
Sarah Beth cursed it,
The
so
cat cursed it.
Yeah, so it comes alive.
So this is something that I had a problem with, that I thought was funny. So RL Stine is just like, yo, fuck small business. Because we think spooky toy store, guy just has weird shit, very interesting, refuses to sell to anybody, and closes the next day. That guy just didn't want to sell because he like couldn't pay rent.
Yeah.
So like he just sells his shitty. That was probably like, he's like, my grandfather gave me that monster blood.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want to trade it, but I couldn't eat. I'm eating cat food.
Yeah, so he sells it for $3.99 or whatever
Yeah.
he sold it for. It was, and it, yeah, when they bought it, this is sort of a revelation that I'm having in real time. There was nothing.
It was
and then
nothing.
it came in the house. He was like, look at this. And
Cat
Sarah Beth suggested.
Latched onto his face and was just like, taste my cat vagina.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
And then once he threw her out the door, she was like, well, fuck you. Well, the whole thing too is originally she realized that Evan had no place to go.
Yeah.
So Sarah Beth wanted to scare Evan out of the house. That's why Trigger was not allowed in, because Sarah Beth hides as a cat. So she wanted to make sure that Evan wanted to get out and add that claustrophobic feel, add the tension to make sure that Evan does not want to stick around or snoop more. Make this seem like Evan's fault. He's the one that brought something in. So that's smart.
Yeah.
That's some smart storytelling, to the point where Sarah Beth really... You can't point the finger at the cat at any point.
Yeah.
You can't even point the finger at Great Aunt Catherine.
No, but you can put a finger in the monster blood.
You can. And I love that segue, because they're... Every now and then... I know... I was a creative writing major. You were as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you're writing, you may get an assignment. They say, write about a children's horror story and just make sure there's nothing about a vagina in it and there's no finger blasting.
So tired of that.
But
rule.
you have like all these great ideas about finger blasting.
I know.
And you're like, hey, maybe I can hide the finger blasting inside this book.
Right. And people will only pick up on it if they're really good at literary analysis.
And guess what we are? You ready to get blasted?
I'm blasting now.
All right. We're really happy that we're done with the plot, because let's just talk about finger blasting.
And real quick, Trigger pushes Sarah Beth into the monster blood. Everyone's fine in the end.
Yeah, everyone comes out. They're not dead. She disappears.
Yeah.
Monster blood's gone. But as we know, there's a second monster blood, so I guess not.
Well, guess not.
Guess not.
That's not important right now.
Oh, yeah. Sarah, Aunt Katherine was only deaf because of a spell. She gets to hear again.
She's fine.
She's fine.
Yep. Hooray!
Let's talk about gines now. Let's talk about some slip and sliding in the gine world.
All right.
RL Gine.
So RL Stine writes first on page 38. Ready? When they first look at the monster blood in the can, the beginning of chapter 8, it says, the substance inside the can was bright green. It shimmered. I'm sorry, am I stealing this from you? Do you want to read it?
What?
Do you want to read this part?
No, you got it.
Okay.
Just use your like gine talk.
It shimmered like jello in the light from the ceiling fixture. Touch it, Andy said. But before Evan had a chance, she reached a finger in and poked it. It's cold, she said. Touch it. It's really cold. Evan poked it with his finger. It was cold, thicker than Jell-O, heavier. He pushed his finger beneath the surface. When he pulled his finger out, it made a loud, sucking noise. Gross, Andy said. Evan shrugged. I've seen worse. So that was when I first read this book as an adult a couple months ago. I skipped right over that. And then when we were in preparation for this podcast, Dave texted me that passage and I lost my mind. But that's not the only instance. So in my notes in a bubble, I have the word sexual and I have many arrows with page numbers. So Dave, do you want to take the next one?
What page do you have next?
85.
Was that the one where it says sucking it?
Sucking them in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's so sticky.
Oh, yeah, I have that. Working together, they managed to lift the entire green ball and drop it into the bucket. The stuff made a sickening, sucking sound as it filled the bucket, and both Evan and Andy had trouble pulling their hands out of it. It's so sticky, Andy said, making a disgusted face. And warm. Evan added. He finally managed to free his hands from it. It's like it's trying to swallow my hands, he said, wiping his hands on his t-shirt, sucking them in. Take it home, Andy.
Andy says take it home, which definitely means please come. This is not bad, right? Even though they're children.
Well, whatever. The monster blood's 18.
That's true. Do you have more instances? Because I got a few more page numbers.
Page 69.
Oh!
Whoa, like the sex number.
I've never heard of it.
This is just like the coffee can on the bookshelf. The can where they had stored the monster blood. Hey, he cried aloud. The green gunk was bubbling, quivering up over the top of the coffee can.
Yeah, whenever you have
quivering is really used a lot in this book.
Yeah. I would say page 93. It says, this is when Evan is falling into the monster blood.
Oh, that's a good scene.
It is a good scene, but there are also some interesting, there's some interesting phrasing here. It says, but the sticky substance was sucking him down, pulling him with surprising force. His whole body seemed held by it, stuck as if in cement. And now it was quivering up, bubbling silently, rising up to his face. I'm going to suffocate, he realized. It's going to choke me. The warmth of it spread across his body, invaded his chest, his legs, his throat.
Okay, so I have one more. This is when Sarah Beth gets eaten. It says there was a wet smack. All italics, of course.
Yeah.
As Sarah Beth hit the surface of the green glob. Then loud, disgusting sucking noises.
Always sucking noises.
Her hands hit first. They disappeared quickly, and then Sarah Beth was in up to her elbows.
Ooh, baby.
Oh, it's getting hot in here. And then the glob seemed to give a hard tug, and her body hit the surface. Then her face was pulled in, covered in it.
The last one I see is when the Bamer twins go into the monster blood. Also, the continuation of the fucked up description we read earlier, their arms went limp, their faces disappeared into the quivering gunk. Quivering is overused.
Quivering is all the time.
Yeah,
it could be
too
anything.
much.
It's like Evan smiled with his quivering lips.
It's like Tendril in Stay Out of the Basement.
Exactly.
It's like he just learned about the word, needs to use it every page.
Yeah.
There are other words, RL.
Trigger's quivering tongue licked the floor like some sort of pussy licking.
Like
Page 33.
Yeah. The sucking sounds grew louder as the two boys were pulled deeper and deeper inside. That's it. Just kind of leave it there.
Okay. So now we got our vaginal moments out of the way.
What did you think of the writing in this book?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad.
By the way, we bought Flarp.
We bought Flarp, made by the lovely people at Jaru.
Jaru Toy Association.
Yeah. Our own little monster blood. So you're getting some sucking noises.
This is a sucking noise.
It's pretty evocative. It puts us in the scene.
I feel like I'm in the book right now.
You want to put half of that in my coffee can, if you know what I mean?
I feel just like Catherine.
Dude, she can't hear that.
Oh, that's a great point. Can I put this into something that I thought was really, really stupid?
Mm-hmm.
At one point, when Evan describes that his aunt is deaf, says, well, you can listen to the stereo there as loud as you want.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't think she has a stereo.
Yeah.
And it was just like, she's fucking deaf. Why would she have a stereo?
Yeah, clearly wouldn't have a stereo.
God, get dunked on, Evan.
Yeah.
Andy, I mean. Whatever. All right, good writing. So I started off with the description of the house.
Okay.
The house, page 4, said, he looked up at the gray house as his mother knocked on the front door again. It looked dark and uninviting. There were curtains drawn over the upstairs windows. One of the shutters has come loose and was resting at an odd angle.
It's nice.
That's all we needed.
Yeah.
We got nothing else from that house pretty much. Sometimes inside, we learned that it constantly smells like mothballs.
Yeah. Especially, wasn't he in the closet though at that
He was,
point?
but
Yeah.
even like from outside, he said it smelled like mothballs.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because there is limited description of the house, but I can still kind of picture what it would be like.
It's unimportant.
Yeah.
I think the setting is actually drawn from the description of Aunt Katherine more so than anything else.
Right. Speaking of like the setting, I feel like they go into town, but the books feel sort of insulated to me. The boundaries are pretty clearly established. I feel like we don't venture out that much.
When we get to Andy's house later, when
Yeah.
he goes to deliver the bucket of monster blood to
Yeah.
split it up, it feels like a whole different place just because we've really been on that main street,
Yeah.
which is a trek from Aunt Katherine's house and Aunt Katherine's house.
Yeah.
Bamer twins show up every now and then. They just
Yeah.
kind of like get shit out by the universe wherever they're standing and are just dicks and they're Jenkos. But they're basically just like if you made 2 creator wrestlers that were chain wallet themed, that would be the Bamer twins.
That's a good way to put it. Who were the bullies in Power Rangers? Bulk and Scully?
Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, Bulk and Skull
Scully is
is an X-File.
dynamic, beautiful woman,
Yeah.
and we will never speak of her in that way. There's so many sucking noises I would like. We'll edit that out. Anyway.
I would like to turn to page 13 when Evan is left off by his mother. I just think this is something that resonates. His mother bent down suddenly and gave him a hug, pressing her cheek against his. The hug, he knew, was supposed to cheer him up, period. But it only made him feel worse. It's just sort of a nice detail because that's sort of relatable, especially when you're young. It's like, here's some shit you don't want to do. And you feel closer to your parents, I think, generally when you're younger. And this is a hard pill to swallow in general. So here's this thing that's meant to cheer you up and you're made to feel worse because it doesn't. It actually pushes you the other direction. That's just a detail that he didn't have to add. He could have just like kept describing things. But he did, and it works.
Well, also we realize Evan feels trapped.
Yeah, for sure.
And he is.
There's no way out, yeah. They talk about him overhearing the conversation between his mom and his dad about what to do with him while they're away. And he has no say in it, of course, because he's a child. So his fate is decided for him. He has no autonomy. Description of... There's a description of the night on page 89 that RL does, the first page of chapter 18. It says, it was a cool, clear night. Crickets sent up a relentless curtain of noise. The black sky glittered with tiny specks of stars. I'm realizing I don't love that last line. It glittered with tiny specks of stars. It's fine. But I like crickets sent up a relentless curtain of noise, I think is pretty good.
I like on page 45 where he finally gets to talk to his mother. This is something that's confusing. It's kind of bad. Do you realize that there's one chapter where it starts off as breakfast? And he says he was eating breakfast, and that reminded him of how he talked to his mother the night before. And then they talk about the mother talking on the phone. Then it's the next day's breakfast again. A different breakfast. That was chapter 9. Chapter 9's bullshit. But that has this description. It says, she had called right after dinner. And he could tell immediately from her voice that things weren't going well down in Atlanta. How's it going, Mom? He had asked, so happy to hear her voice, even though she was nearly 1,000 miles away. Slowly, his mother had replied hesitantly, what do you mean? How's Dad? Did you find a house? The question seemed to pour out of him like air escaping from a balloon.
It's good. It's a good simile. Especially considering there are similes in here where he says again. In here, he doesn't say mouth as dry as cotton, but he says throat as dry as cotton.
So I thought that was good.
Every book. So that's a good simile by RL standards.
I have Trigger's brutal death, but I want to save that for my scariest moment.
Trigger's brutal death?
Where he almost dies. Where he gets suffocated.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is horrendous. Again, dogs and pets in R.L. Stine books are not treated kindly. And that bothers me too.
Well, there's a scene where Trigger escapes. There's 2 scenes where Trigger escapes.
Yeah.
First time he escapes, it's in a dream. Within a dream.
Yeah.
They do the dream within a dream.
Yeah, I made a note of that. I just wrote it feels worth mentioning, so I'm glad you're doing that.
Because it's shitty.
Yeah.
There's all those things where it's just like, oh, hey, welcome to Monster Blood. You have monster blood? Well, it's going to eat you. And he's like, wah!
Yeah.
And he's outside. And he's like, oh, where's my dog? My dog is running. Oh, no, things are really bad. Wah! Okay, it's a normal day.
Yeah.
Which is shitty on a TV show, but he does it in a book, and he makes each chapter the different dream.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, I don't think I'm dreaming.
Yeah. And when he finally wakes up, he says, I woke up for real this time.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He legit says that.
Yeah.
But in the dream, he has some good description. I really like the night was dark and starless. The street glistened as it had recently rained. Trigger's paws hit the pavement, each step a loud thunderclap that seemed to echo forever. His giant ears flapped like wings, twin pennants caught on the wind.
Yeah.
His big head bobbed up and down, and he didn't look back.
I like that too. Yeah, the wings, twin pennants caught in the wind. Cool. So let's talk about some of the stuff that didn't work for us in terms of writing.
I got 2 big no-nos.
Okay, cool.
So this pissed me off.
Yeah.
So we think about these books are marketed towards, what was it, grade... I think it sounded something. It was like grade 2 to 6. He starts a sentence with and. Not only does he start a sentence with and, in the same fucking paragraph, this motherfucker starts a sentence with but.
And we all know from elementary school.
And not butts were his favorite thing to spank it to on the internet.
Cool butts.
Yeah. It's butts. All of the pictures, which were all the pictures hanging in his locker.
Yeah.
Big old butts. So he wrote, page 22, 23, he saw some little kids chasing each other around a birch tree, period. And he saw a middle-aged man. Dude, fucking comma.
Yeah.
Comma.
Take a breath.
And then it says, and he saw a middle-aged man in bright orange bathing trunks washing his car with a garden hose in his driveway, period. But he didn't see any kids his age. Listen, dude, I know it was going to be a run-on sentence, but you could figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe because this was month 3 of writing 4 books in 4 months.
Yeah. But even so, I mean, how many pages was this in his manuscript total? It's probably 50.
He's like, fuck it.
Yeah, it's, you can work through it. Well, when you're speaking to who this book is geared toward, something to run with that.
Because that's really, when it talks about writing in elementary school, that's pretty much one of the big guidelines too. That's something you learn then. Do not start a sentence with and, do not start a sentence with but. Yeah.
And I feel also the way that the characters talk sometimes, Andy in particular. So there's 2 instances of this. On page 78, Andy says, okay, forget the aunt, making a dispirited face. They're talking about Trigger. And the vet's name is Dr. Forrest. And Andy says, perhaps if you told Dr. Forrest. And it's a small thing, but I feel like no 12-year-old is going to say perhaps anything. Just say maybe. Why would you overcomplicate it?
Well, there's the point when Andy says, just this monster blood sounds quite like a vagina. And Andy says, well, indubitably. And they say, here, here.
Yes. Yeah, and they cheers each other.
Yeah.
On page 85, Andy says again, it's Andy, suggesting they take the monster blood back to the store. And she says, that's what we'll do. We'll simply take it back. Why is simply in there? It sounds like she's an Oxford professor.
It sounds like she's has a ruse. But listen here, boy, we're going to simply take it back and we'll be on Easy Street.
Yeah, she has a, what is that, a Mid-Atlantic accent?
Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby.
So that was a small thing, and again, we're not trying to be. Well, it's a bit of pedantry, and we love pedantry on this podcast.
Well, the thing too is that RL Stine every now and then he loves italics, just to like really make a word punch. But in this book, he uses fragments.
Yeah.
Which sometimes, if you want pacing, if you want to add that breath, it works. But he does it constantly.
Yeah.
Page 75 is a good example where it says, "Sounds like a big problem," Andy said. "Yeah, period. Okay, period. A big problem," Evan snapped impatiently. "I'm not in the mood to kid around, okay? Okay, period. Sorry, period," Andy replied quickly. "Any signs of Rick or Tony?" So I was like, oh, okay, he's been doing that a lot, and that kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
Next paragraph, he says, "I caught up with Trigger. Disappeared, period. Vanished, period." Trigger was still barking his head off sometime ago. Yeah. But he does that throughout the end of the book constantly.
Yeah.
Where he'll be like, "I looked him in the face, period. Horny, period. Erotic, period. Come."
Full
Semicolon?
chub, period.
Ellipses.
Yeah.
Nipples, period. Hair, period. Schmegma. Ellipses. Underscore. @ hashtag blessed.
Yeah, there's a lot of one-word sentences, which is never great.
Well, it could be great. It could be great if he just had the trigger vanished, disappeared, like
yeah,
and it ended there.
It has
you'd be
some-
like, wow,
it's
it's some
dramatic.
weight to it. But he does it so much that you're like, I get it. Let's keep moving.
yeah.
So, I mean, I have those fragments. We talked about a few things. Do you like beef? I thought was funny originally, and I was like,
Very
that's
funny.
kind of. But it really made Aunt Katherine to me less of a witch and more of like a Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
She at no point didn't seem like she was going to chop up and try to feed him a trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how they establish her early on. Is the very first chapter when he sees her, she's holding a bloody knife.
But again, with that, works. She's creepy. She sucks. She's got like straw hair, hulking, probably knuckle hair, which I'm waiting for him to be like her hairy knuckles, man. She loved to spank it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind
not
of
waiting.
into her hairy knuckles.
I love her. Also, she wears a necklace that's made out of bones.
Yeah, the bone necklace. Evan suggests that his aunt likes bones. Is the note
I wrote
the note
that
that I
too.
made is like, I don't know. She like Andy was like, why is she wearing that? And Evan was like, I don't know. She fucking likes bones. Anyway,
It's just like in the last book where it's just like, wait a second. Plants don't howl. And he's like, well, these do.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Why she
Yeah.
get a bone necklace? I don't know. It's her
Yeah.
aesthetic. Go on her fucking Pinterest storyboard or whatever.
yeah,
Don't fucking tell her what to wear.
yeah, dude.
She's deaf, so she can't hear your fucking loud clothing, Andy. She
Yeah.
dresses like a bumblebee in the first chapter. I wrote that down. Here it just says, drop my pen, I'm so angry.
You're so steamed.
I am. Because once we learned about Andy, it just says Andy dresses like a bumblebee and sucks. Because she shows up and she says she's wearing yellow and black stripes.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
got black pants and yellow socks and a bumblebee stinger. And maybe
Yeah.
some bumblebee wings. Also, she's sticking her little wick into some goddamn plants.
Maybe she produces some honey. I don't know.
And then she goes, everybody's stupid.
Yeah, as
Like-
bees do.
Yeah. Fucking bees. But, we're moving. We're just chugging along.
Yeah, writing wise, I don't know. I think there's a part on page 35 after they get the monster blood where Catherine says, "Be careful," but we're not sure. It says, as Evan took the monster blood back and started to his room with Andy, he heard Catherine say something to him in a low whisper. He couldn't quite hear what she had said. It sounded like "be careful," but he wasn't sure. I think that's fucking whack. Like,
You
just
know what I think, though? I'm kind of realizing this. This is my self-realization.
yeah.
Maybe she wasn't talking about the monster blood.
Like
Maybe
she was
she's
talking to
about
Sarah.
Andy.
Beth. In what way?
In that, the very beginning, first thing that Catherine does is just like, You like them ladies?
Oh.
You look like one of them girls that likes that ladies. And she's like, oh, we're going to go play with this slime up in my bedroom.
Right.
And looks over. It's like,
be careful.
be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe she just thinks they're going to fuck.
I think so.
That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. I think, I
Just
feel
to be
terrible.
clear.
I feel like you're a cop. Are you a cop? On podcast rules, you
Dave,
have to tell me.
Could you get closer to the mic? Could you tell me that these 12-year-olds are going to fuck?
If I say these 12-year-olds are going to fuck, you're going to put me in jail.
I mean, you said that. I didn't say that.
You're the one. Fuck you. So anyway, we'll
Whoop,
move on.
whoop.
So these 12-year-olds are...
That's
monster blood.
They're flarping.
They're flarp. I love that it's called flarp.
Yeah.
It's just like, we need to figure out the one copyrighted fart noise that's not out there.
I don't know. Flarp?
A real Bronx cheer. So, on top of that, we forgot to mention that Aunt Katherine just seems crazy. Like, unable to exist and own a house. Like,
yeah.
Aunt Katherine just fucking spits in an envelope and mails it and says, done taxes. Like, she has no idea how the real world worked. Because there's so many points in this book where he's like, I went home and Aunt Katherine was just arguing with the cat again.
Yeah.
We learned that we don't know the cat's a witch yet.
She was putting a letter in the toaster and trying to push it down because that's how she thinks you mail things.
She goes, ding dong, you've got mail.
Yeah, one sentence says, Aunt Katherine's a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Aunt Katherine is my favorite character in this book, but it took a while.
Yeah.
It took a while. She was really trying to protect her family from a curse.
Yeah. Can we talk about characters a little bit?
Yes. Let's move into that.
Cool. So, here are the reasons Evan sucks.
So he's our main character and you hate him.
Yeah, you hate him right away. First of all, when he's dropped off, his parents just have to do shit. And he is so antagonistic from the beginning. I get like not wanting to go to his aunt's house. I would be resistant too. That's fine. But there's really no reason for it other than, you know, she talks about beef a lot and he's like, Mom, I can't be here. She wants me to fuck beef.
He should at least try. He should be like, what are we talking? Like,
a rump roast?
Ground beef?
Yeah. Just carve a little hole in that roast. Another reason he sucks. When he first meets Andy, he has an insane response. When she asks him what his name is, he says, I'm me. And I wrote, Evan intends to remain a virgin. That is the most insane thing.
Regardless of Aunt Katherine's wishes.
Yeah. It's just like, would you ever think to say, I can't even begin to relate to that. It's just the first thing automatically that comes out of my mouth is my name. That's all I have. Like I'm very bad at keeping up a conversation. At the very least, I can give you my name. Yeah. And he's riffing off the bat and it falls flat. So Andy rightfully dunks on him.
Good.
But I also think, so on page 26, he says, oh, I like Andy because she gets my sense of humor. Girls back home didn't think I was funny.
No, they said girls at home think I'm silly.
Yeah, but he says they don't. Stine made a point of saying they don't understand Evan's sense of humor, and so he's putting the blame on the girls.
It's because it sucks.
Yeah, right. Rather than looking inward, which he never does. So he blames the girls back home because he's not funny. I think he has sort of a fragile masculinity because he calls Andy's bike a girl's bike.
I was going to say that. He's like, I just want to ride a girl's bike.
Yeah. Page 54, he has this dream about fighting the Bamer twins, whatever, that's fine. I get, like, they bullied you around. It's satisfying to think of you kicking their ass. But he also has, like, Andy in the sidelines, like, cheering him on.
Like that. Yeah. It's more about cheering on and seeing, like, the macho man than it is getting his payback.
Right. Yeah, it's bullshit. And for these reasons, I think he's sort of a meninist. Also, he hates cats. And I get Sarah Beth sucks, but like he's kind of a dick.
It does ride his face with his claws and stuff, which sucks. But what else? Anything else? Oh, on page 91, Evan confuses a bathtub for a human body.
What the fuck?
It can be real dark.
Right, but a bathtub is ceramic. It's real hard. There's a different height. You wouldn't trip over it the same way that you trip over a fucking body. But the first thing he says is, "A body?" Question mark. Oh no, it was a tub. Whoops. Close call. It's truly insane. Anyway.
Well, Evan's dumb in this book. So as the listener, you probably haven't read this. Or you read it way long ago, maybe watched the episode, which I watched today, and it has nothing to do. It's so different, but once Trigger eats the slime, and this is the slime that most of the plot is them figuring out how to contain this ever-growing slime.
Yeah.
For how many pages? 100 something?
Yeah, 120.
Yeah, so they get all the way to chapter... when they finally figure it out.
Oh, it's 16 or something like that?
Chapter 16, page 77 of this book.
Yeah.
That's over halfway of the book, where they realize that their dog is growing after eating the monster blood that he freaks out about. And then later, when they see it growing and they learn about all this witch shit, they say, "Oh my God, do you think my dog, the other anomaly, is happening? Because..." Wait, hold on a second. Let's get this together before you say anything. Because it ate the monster blood. The stuff that was growing.
Yeah, does that track
Do you
to
think-
you? Does that make sense? Or am I talking out of turn?
And Eddie's just like, "I gotta see this on paper." I don't read you.
Yeah, it takes them forever, truly. Yeah,
It really does.
yeah, they're two stupid idiots. I feel like I worked through basically what I have. I feel like we covered Aunt Katherine. Sarah Beth is nothing to me. I feel like what bothered me about this book, I liked it, generally speaking.
It's my favorite so far.
Yeah, I like the world that they're occupying. I like the relationship and the dynamic between Evan and Andy. I don't like how cartoonish and overcomplicated the Sarah Beth thing is. It's sort of like Sabrina, Salem the Cat.
Well, I like it because it has a lot of backbone in traditional horror. The idea of a familiar, the idea of some sort of curse that's keeping her, where the only reason that this lady exists, even to the point where she's deaf and is forbidden to read lips or learn sign language, because Sarah Beth really wants to cut her off from the rest of humanity. And just that she has no other option but to take on this boy, and this is Sarah Beth's decision to curse their toy that they have.
Right.
And at the end, it says a lot that Katherine is really plagued with this decision, in that she wants the monster blood to eat and kill her in front of Sarah Beth, because if she is murdered, that means that this curse will not spread to her family.
Right, yeah.
So her being like, "You like beef?" She just wants Evan to grow big and strong.
Yeah.
She says...
She cares all along.
like her question. What does she ask? She asks two questions. Do you like beef?
And
you like to fuck.
You like
And Evan, to both, has a resounding, "Who's asking?" Because fuck yeah.
Yeah. Give me that beef and let me go upstairs.
Because she's like, "I want to make you strong so you can take it on to Pound Town in a respectable 7 years."
Yeah. Be
Not
careful.
now.
Use protection.
Use protection. Because she would rather die, because she says, "If I go in this monster blood, finally we can end the curse.
Yeah.
When I die, I'll die with the curse."
That's great. Yeah.
And Sarah Beth's like, "Shit doesn't work that way."
Do you remember whenever there's self-sacrifice, I think of, I don't know if it was Child's Play 2. It was one of the Chucky movies.
Was it the one with the nerdy kid when he jumps on the grenade?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Okay, I think
that
that's
sticks
3.
with me from when I was
3.
like a kid. I saw that on TV and I was like he just like, his body like kind of lifts off the ground a little bit and then he like is so lifeless. But also like just his like glasses break basically.
Well, you don't know what grenades are like.
Yeah, they could just break your glasses.
Yeah.
But I think about that a lot. Anyway, but no, I think that's a good point, and I think the familiar thing is cool. That's very like,
it is witchy, and
Witch-
it worked. I mean,
yeah.
again, I feel like a lot of the books he starts with are very Dracula based, very vampire. Welcome to Dead House.
yeah,
He has all these zombie dead people that have vampire rules.
yeah,
This one, he has a witch who self-identifies as a witch, who has a better witch who is a cat that witches her and does vampire rules.
yeah.
Like R.L. Stine just saw one vampire movie and he was like, I can do this. Because as we know, he only wanted to write comedy. He never wanted to write spooky stuff. He just wanted to be the goofy kid.
Jovial Bob Stine.
I love Bob Stine. Yeah. The difference, R.L. Stine. And you're like, ooh, I felt the chills down my back. Yeah. And then you say Bob Stine, and you're like, oh, Bob.
Oh, Bob. You give him a noogie and just give him a little kiss on the cheek.
Just right on that mole. Yeah. That's a little punctuation that you love to stick there. You got one right in the middle of your head. And
full stop.
Full stop. But that's something I noticed where I wrote, Katherine chooses death over death.
Yeah.
Because she gets her hearing back at the end.
Yeah.
But also in the end, this is a main reason that Evan sucks. I was kind of okay with Evan. I'm like, he's getting hair on his chub. He's angry. He hates the world. Yeah. And now he's stuck living with this pretty much serial killer as you see it. This lady's insane.
In his eyes, but he's also so fucking disrespectful. Like
he is disrespectful.
He calls her a coot to her face. He's like, she can't hear me. Watch this. Hey, you fucking coot.
Yeah.
And then he's like, whoa, should you do that? And he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Hey, you're crazy. You're a fucking lunatic. Anyway, let's go upstairs.
Just showing off to his friend.
He's from Long Island.
It's like, hey, you're a girl. Look at this dumb bitch. Yeah. Hey, dumb bitch. Make me a goddamn sugar cookie. She wants to make me a fucking pie, this fucking gavone. Let's get upstairs and play with my slime.
She wants to cook a side of beef all day over here, you fucking idiot.
Dumb bitch, she playing with the goddamn cat, yelling at the goddamn cat all goddamn night. Motherfucker, let's play with my finger slime. So, in the end... Mom called, or Katherine comes and says like, hey, this is meanwhile when like the slime is in a bucket, it's dumped all over the grass and they're chasing them and it ate the twins and shit. And Aunt Katherine comes and she's like, oh, good news, your mom's coming home to pick you up. And Evan at that point is just like, suck my dick, world. Fuck you. Your problem. Fuck you, Andy. Fuck you, bathtub. Fuck you, cat. I'm out.
This is a great point. Yeah, this is definitely a huge point in the Evan sucks shit circle. Because, he just, once he gets the news that his mom's coming to pick him up.
Chapter 21.
He, like, puts down the garbage can filled with monster blood and he says, Andy, I'm fucking out of here. This is your problem now. And it's Aunt Katherine's problem. And it's not mine. That is for sure.
I love, you quoted it. Page 104, it just said, and then dismissing the thought, he leaped up and whooped for joy. This is the second whoop of joy. We had a whoop. Dad whooped when he liked the house in Dead House.
It's hereditary.
Whoop! And it was the best news he'd ever received. I'm out of here, he exclaimed after his aunt had returned to the house. I'm out of here! Exclamation point this time. I can't wait. Andy didn't appear to share his joy. Because he showed weird. Up. He's like, oh, you're having a fun summer? I'm about to take a big diarrhea shit on your life.
Yeah.
You're leaving your aunt a nice little surprise over there, she said, pointing to the trash can. I don't care. I'm out of here, Evan repeated, raising his hands for Andy to slap him a high five. She didn't cooperate. What a dick.
You would think after getting the shit kicked out of you like 3 times in front of the person you like, you'd like sober up a little bit in terms of your ego, but he just is shitty.
He's so good. And then she reminds him like, your dog's really big. And he's like, well, that may be a problem, but fuck you.
I'm taking my big dog and I'm riding out of town, baby.
It's a pony.
Yeah.
So many times he's like, his dog, who is a pony, by the way.
As big as a pony, if I didn't mention that 70 times.
Yeah. Other than that, the only thing I like at the end is that so we said that Sarah Beth gets eaten by the monster blood. It all shrinks down to nothingness, and everybody is there except for Sarah Beth.
Yeah.
Bamber twins, the Robin, who the window's open, thank God, and flies out. I was so nervous about that detail, but it was there. And also Trigger, who had giant paws and knocks her into it, is back to normal size. Mom shows up in that moment, and he's like, oh my God, Mom. And then Sarah Beth is just like, I'm going to call... Oh, wait, no, Mom's not there yet. And he's like, I'm going to talk to your mom. Or come in, Mom. I'm going to explain everything. And I was just like, book was interesting. That conversation, though, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I would want her to be like, hey, I get here now. Do you want to sit down? You know that cat that I was fucking fighting with? Funny. It's familiar. Witches are real. Let's talk.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of the thing where you're like, oh, it was a rough time. Like, let's say, there was something. I'll explain it to your mom. It'll be okay. And you can be on your way. But this isn't something you could just explain.
No.
They were talking about like, you guys just go hang out and have an ice pop. We're
I'll
gonna
take care of
hang
this.
out. Yeah. You just go pet your non-pony dog.
Yeah, unless she is going to make up some shit, some easy to explain kind of excuse for that would, that anything she can come up with would be less weird than this.
But she also was a bad witch to the point where they show up and they're like, you're weird. And she's like, I'm a witch. And then she gives Evan a room, and the books in the room are all just like magic and witch books.
Right.
Like the books are literally like how to be a witch. Yeah. Spells for a witch.
Which Andy notices, Evan doesn't, because he's like, this isn't Nintendo. And then he jacks off for half an hour.
It's like, this one kind of looks like a boob. How am I going to play Bomberman?
Yeah. So fuck Evan. That's
Evan's
my alternate
the kind of guy
title.
that like really likes Bomberman. Like every now and then you're like, oh, you got, okay.
Yeah.
But he's just like, fuck Ghosts and Goblins. I want to play Bomberman.
Yeah. It's my favorite game. And all right. I get a sense of who you are.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're at that point now. There's not too much to rationalize. We can skip the rationalization game.
Yeah, but we will do our usual segment, Spooks and Scares.
Spooks and Scares.
Best dressed and alternate title.
We gotta get a song for this, I think.
Well, we kind of do.
I think we do.
Cool, so...
We made just like a guitar solo. So we're like, now it's time for Best Dressed, Spooks and Scares, and alternate title. And then it's like...
yeah. Yeah, Wayne's World type.
Wayne's World it. All right. So what's your number one spooks and scare?
My spook and scare does concern, it's something I already read. So it's the Bamer twins. It's when they're absorbed into the monster blood before you know that there are no stakes in the Goosebumps universe. Bottom of page 109, Evan gasped in helpless horror as the Bamer brothers finally stopped struggling. Their arms went limp. Their faces disappeared into the quivering gunk. The sucking sounds grew louder as the two boys were pulled deeper and deeper inside. Then the monster blood bounced high, turned, and started back up the drive.
Nice.
So they're just swallowed like they're nothing. I think once they go limp and they just like are like lifeless, that's
you know why they may have gone lifeless? Because maybe they had typo negative shirts instead of Metallica ones. And they were like, this is it. It was like, it turns out he thought they were heavy metal, but it was like typo negative in like the Smiths shirts.
Yeah.
And he's like, life is nothingness. And then it bounces away and it's like,
heaven knows I'm miserable now.
Yeah.
I feel like if they listen to the Smiths, they'd be too bummed out about themselves to hurt others.
You punch him and to be like,
physically.
I'm feeling the real pain.
Yeah.
So mine is when Trigger almost dies. On page 54, 55, he runs out. He's like, Trigger, hey, Trigger, he called. Halfway across the yard, Evan could see something was wrong. Trigger's eyes were bulging. His mouth was wide open, his tongue flailing rapidly from side to side, white spittle running down his chin hair onto the ground. Trigger. The dog was gasping hoarsely, each breath a desperate, difficult struggle. He's choking, Evan realized. As Evan reached the dog run, Trigger's eyes rolled back and the dog's legs collapsed under him, his stomach still heaving, the air filled with his loud, hideous gasps.
Yeah,
and it keeps going about his chest heaving, thick white spittle flowed from his mouth. Yeah, it's just the collar wouldn't budge. He just ripped the collar off. And it's one of the smallest points in the book where you learn the dog is growing.
Yeah.
Where throughout the book they're like, does he look bigger?
Yeah.
And then it's to the point where he's pony sized. But this is like not just a does he look bigger. His dog is choking to death.
Yeah.
In the most really graphic way.
It's brutal. And it's worse in a way that it's on an animal, an old animal.
It is.
It's like...
Because Evan, who's just like this fucking Weinstein piece of shit, is drowning and has this revitalized push back to life, which we didn't read, but it's Evan. No one cares.
It's
you
fine.
guys are going to root for him to die, but...
Yeah, as you should.
Does Monster Blood 2, is Evan in it?
He is. Yeah.
He is?
That's my understanding. I haven't read it as an adult, but yeah.
We'll get back to it.
Yeah.
So we'll be on Fuck Evan Watch.
Yeah. Hashtag Fuck Evan if you have a favorite moment where he's being a huge piece of shit.
Comment on our, send us a tweet, send us an Instagram, Fuck Evan.
Yeah. And we'll shout
also,
you out.
if your name is Evan, then this might work in your favor.
Hey, that's nice.
This might be like a real cutie.
Yeah.
He says,
if your name is Evan, reach out to us. Just say hi to us.
Just say hi. And there might be a lady or a man who's just like, hashtag Fuck Evan. All right. I like this podcast.
Best dressed. What would you say for best dressed?
Best dress, I'm going to have... So just because Andy's dressed so nice the whole time,
Yeah.
I want to go with the Baber twins.
Okay.
Just because they got the most 90s wear. Their Jankos are just giving me life. I could tell that they're wearing Vans. I could tell that their shirt is a black shirt with like a white and red logo on it. And they have like the crew. They look like Buzz from fucking Home Alone.
Yeah. Can I... I think they would more likely be wearing Airwalks.
Oh,
if I had to choose.
Yeah, Airwalks. But they were definitely the black ones, just black Airwalks with the white soles and the little white. Yeah.
The little white A.
But they sucked and they were serial killers, but like they painted the best picture in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, you could picture them right away.
They were bullies. I knew it.
Yeah.
I felt it.
I'm going to go with what you hated, Andy as a bumblebee.
Fuck that bumblebee.
She was pretty, page 24. She was pretty, he thought. So that's his first thought, too, is like...
Yeah, but we already know Evan likes them girls. Mm-hmm.
Apparently, yeah, because right away. She had short, wavy brown hair, almost black, and flashing brown eyes and a playful, teasing smile. Ooh. See, this is editorializing using Evan's voice, and it sucks. A teasing smile. She's just smiling. You fucking idiot.
Who knew? She could have been teasing.
Yeah.
It's like she smiled while lowering the strap on her bike helmet.
Yeah. She was wearing an oversized yellow t-shirt over black spandex leggings and bright yellow Nikes. To me, so it's the early 90s. This is just like I don't know, she's like Tribe Called Quest or something. This is like very early hip-hop type of situation. So I enjoyed that. My runner-up was the shopkeeper and his frowning mustache. Yeah.
We just didn't know about what he was what he was wearing.
Yeah, not really.
Like he could have been wearing only a vest.
Yeah, but
if he was like nothing below it, like behind the counter is just like old frowning dick to match his frowning mustache and just a vest, which he would have won if it was just like he's wearing just a vest
and his dick looked sad and remorseful.
He was wearing Shrek's clothes, but Shrek didn't exist yet.
Oh, donkey.
Oh, donkey.
Alternate title. What do you think?
I didn't write one for this one, so I don't really have
I wrote one, but we could just come up with one if you want.
What'd you write? I want to hear your written one.
I wrote Worst Sabrina.
Maybe My Quivering Summer.
Yeah, that's good. Great.
Yeah. Cool. My Quivering Summer. Maybe just like Finger Me Friends. And it'll just have like Andy and Evan just like smiling and like high-fiving.
And florping.
Finger Friends. So I think we should end it. Do you got your florp out?
I got my florp.
All right. So I'm going to try and say goodbye in florp.
Okay.
Ready?
And what was that word that you said there?
Good. All right. Ready? That was bye.
Okay. And let me try.
I don't know why I didn't say this one word.
All right, let me try again. Because that word was jizz. Let me try again. That didn't come out right. So yeah, I'm trying to say bye, but I got to get it just right. Okay, that was see ya. I want goodbye, though. Let me try one more time. That one was okay, but it was a little underwhelming. Maybe we can both do it at the same time.
I'm singing that song from The Sound of Music.
The Hills Are Alive?
That's like, goodbye, farewell.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Ready?
All right, dudes. Well, for Matt and Dave, we'll see you next time around the block. We'll have Say Cheese and Die. If
I hope somebody sucks your quivering mess. Have a great weekend.
And get at us on social media. We're at Calling All Creeps Pod on Instagram, and we're at Call Creeps Pod on Twitter.
Yeah, twat us.
Twat us. Bye. Dave, can we harmonize? Bye.
Touch it, Andy said. But before Evan had a chance, she reached a finger in and poked it. All right, hold on. We'll pick right up from, okay. She reached a finger in and poked it. She reached. Maybe we'll just get the noises, right?
Okay.
Hold on. Okay, let's get like 2 good ones without laughs. Ready?
Okay.
Ready? All right, we still need 2. I laughed. Just straight face.